Welcome. I want to start this series with something that sounds almost philosophical, but has very practical consequences for how you practice medicine every single day. We are trained by language, by culture, by the way we write soap notes to think in binaries. Does this dog have Addison's disease? Yes or no? Is this cow pregnant? Yes or no? Does this patient have lymphoma? Yes or no? But here's the problem. Biology doesn't work in yes or no, and neither does diagnosis. In this talk, we're going to build a different mental model, one built on probability, and I'm going to show you why it makes you a better clinician, not just a better epidemiologist. Think about the last time a client asked you, "Does my pet have cancer?" What they want is a yes or no. What you actually have is a probability shaped by the signalment, the history, the physical exam, the lab work. The binary trap is dangerous for two reasons. First, it ignores uncertainty. And uncertainty that's ignored doesn't go away. It just becomes invisible. Second, it leads to overconfidence. When we force a binary conclusion too early, we stop gathering information, we stop reevaluating, and we make worse decisions. So the first and most important shift we're going to make in this series is this. Replace yes or no with how likely. That single shift in framing will change how you interpret tests, how you talk to clients, and how you make clinical decisions. Pretest probability is simply your best estimate of the probability that a patient has a given disease before you run any test. It's not a guess. It's an informed estimate based on everything you already know. Let's break down the four building blocks. First, prevalence. If a disease is rare in your region or your patient population, your pretest probability starts low, even if your patient looks sick. This matters enormously when we get to test interpretation. Second, signalment. A 10-year-old intact female golden retriever presenting with a cranial abdominal mass has a very different pretest probability for splenic hemangiosarcoma than a 2-year-old Labrador with the same finding. Breed, age, and sex are doing real probabilistic work here. Third, history. Exposure history, travel history, vaccination status, husbandry practices, all of these shift your prior probability up or down before you've ordered a single test. And fourth, physical exam. What you find on examination either raises or lowers your probability estimate. A dog with a 2-week history of PUPD and bilaterally symmetric alopecia already has a moderately high pretest probability for hyperadrenocorticism before you've run an ACTH stim. Pretest probability isn't a formal calculation most of the time. It's the structured use of everything you already know to arrive at a starting estimate. The more explicitly you do this, the better your downstream decisions will be. Let's make this concrete. You have a 6-year-old male neutered Doberman who lives in the Ohio River Valley and has been coughing for 3 weeks. Before you run a single test, you already have meaningful information. The geography matters. The Ohio River Valley is endemic for Histoplasma capsulatum. 3 weeks of cough in an endemic area pushes fungal disease up the list. The Doberman breed predisposes to dilated cardiomyopathy, but a cough in Adobe without a murmur shifts you away from cardiac. Harsh lung sounds without a murmur further supports a pulmonary process. By the time you decide which test to run, you've already done probabilistic reasoning. You've just done it implicitly. The goal of this series is to help you do it explicitly so that you can be more accurate, more consistent, and better able to explain your reasoning to clients, colleagues, and examiners. Notice we haven't run any tests yet. That comes next. In the next talk, we'll cover how test results change this probability estimate. For now, the key insight is the estimate you start with fundamentally shapes what every test result means. This slide captures the single most important practical implication of pre-test probability. So I want you to really sit with it. A positive heartworm antigen test in a dog from Louisiana that lives outside and isn't on prevention, that test result is almost certainly a true positive. The pretest probability was high, so even a moderately sensitive test is going to give you a result you can act on. Now, take the exact same test, the exact same result, a positive, in a dog that has spent its entire life in Alaska as an indoor dog and has been on prevention consistently. That positive result now looks much more suspicious. The pretest probability was so low that even a highly specific test starts to generate mostly false positives. This is why we say pretest probability is not optional. It's the context that gives every test result its meaning. Without it, you're flying blind. We're going to dig much deeper into this with 2x2 tables, sensitivity, specificity, and predictive values in the next few talks. But I want you to walk away from this talk with one thing. Every clinical encounter starts with a probability estimate, whether you do it explicitly or not. Let's start doing it explicitly. Let's summarize. Diagnosis is probabilistic, always. Pretest probability is your structured, explicit estimate of disease likelihood before you test. It's built from prevalence, signalment, history, and exam. And crucially, the same test result means something completely different depending on your starting probability. In the next talk, we'll take this pretest probability and show you exactly what happens to it when you get a test result back. That process, called Bayesian updating, is the engine that drives good diagnostic reasoning. Let's work through these. Question 1. Answer C. A 9-year-old intact female golden retriever with a cranial abdominal mass has a moderate to high pretest probability for splenic hemangiosarcoma, even before a single test. Why? Because all 4 components of pretest probability are pointing in that direction. Golden retrievers are heavily predisposed to hemangiosarcoma. She's 9 years old. This is the right age window. She's intact. Hormonal factors may play a role, and she has a palpable abdominal mass and lethargy. You don't need imaging to know your pretest probability is elevated. Option A is wrong because pretest probability is explicitly the estimate you make before testing. Option B is wrong because prevalence in a specific high-risk population is much higher than prevalence in the general population. This is a key nuance. Option D is wrong. Lab work is part of updating probability, not a prerequisite for estimating it. Question 2. Answer B. Pretest probability provides the context that determines what a test result actually means. As we saw with the heartworm example, a positive test in a low probability patient and a positive test in a high probability patient require very different responses. Option C is a common misconception. Pretest probability informs when and how to test, but it doesn't replace testing. Option A and D are distractors.